It's time for a top 10 movies of the 80s. Now, hello everyone, this is Ledger Forever, and I am going to be giving you guys my top 10 movies from the 80s because I personally, along with basically anyone else that knows what they're saying, will say that the 80s was by far the best year for movies. It had some of the greatest action movies of all time. You got some good adventure films, you got some dramas, you got some comedies, you got a little bit of everything in the 80s. So that is why I decided to do this. Now, Film Kid, who is a friend of mine, he asked me to do this, and I will put the link to his description I will put the link to his channel in this description below if I remember to. I will try my best to remember. So, without any more delays, let's get started. Okay, so kicking things off in number 10, I've got Back to the Future. Whew, this is gonna be giving me a lot of heat for this. I am very sorry I have to say this. It's not the best in terms of 80s. I do think it's a good movie. It is a really good movie. And it's very rewatchable, but I'm just gonna say this up in front, it's kind of overrated. People go out to say that this movie is like a top 3 movie. In my opinion, it's not a top 3. Like, when you get some of the great action movies, and this isn't even my most rewatched movie. I have a lot more movies that I rewatch. I've only seen Back to the Future like once. And that was because I did it for my channel. I never wanted to see it, but I thought it was good. It's by far the best out of all the entire trilogy, so don't expect 2 or 3 to make an appearance. 3 wouldn't be able to, even if I did like it more, because it was made in the 90s. So it wouldn't be able to make an appearance, but I do think this is good. It does have some amazing things, and we get like the Great Scott, and we just get so many amazing lines, and we also get a really good cast like Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. Those two play their roles so well. You would not want them to be recast, and they better not be recast. If you ever reboot this franchise, you're dead to me. I can't. It will not be a good franchise if they reboot it. It will be horrible. Just so you know, leave this alone. Okay, and kicking things off in number 9, I've got Top Gun. Now, it kind of goes back and forth on if I like Top Gun Maverick more than this. I think at the moment I'm still a fan of the original. There are two types of people in this world. Those who like Top Gun more than Top Gun Maverick, and those who like Top Gun Maverick more than Top Gun. You're either nostalgic for the original, or you just believe that it's one of the sequels that's better than the original. So, I think this has a lot going for it. Up in front, it's just an awesome action movie starring Tom Cruise. Like in like the 80s and 90s, Tom Cruise slowly solidified himself as like an A-list actor, and this movie shows it is awesome. You get some really good scenes. I think a lot of it's pretty practical. I'm not too sure. I do think the love connection didn't need to be there if we just focus a little more on just Maverick and Goose, the relationship they build. And it's just amazing, and watching Maverick have to suffer through the journey he's going on after Goose is killed. Oh, just gut-wrenching stuff. It is magnifique. It is amazing. I think it's in my top 10. When I did my top 10 movies, I know for a fact it was in it. I think it was like number 10 or something. Yeah, it was number 10. And I just want to say, this is one of the greats for just like action films, and definitely one you should check out. Okay, so now we're going to go at number 8, and we've got Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Now, this is my second favorite in the entire franchise. This is so rewatchable and is an amazing flick. And, oh man, this is awesome. Like, it does so many good things. It gives us this, like, comedy element to it that we hadn't really seen yet. Because the first two are just very dark and very serious. And then this was the first one to be PG-13 because it was made in 1989. And since Temple of Doom made the PG-13 rating, that and Gremlins, this one was able to receive it, so that's just an interesting fact. Sean Connery in this was awesome. I thought that he's a really good addition to this cast, and it's really sad that we didn't get more of him. Like, I think he was offered a role in Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but he decided he would turn it down, which meant that they had to write off the character as dead. So that I didn't think was very good, but I do think the film is amazing. This is a quintessential adventure film, and if you have not seen this one, you've got to check it out. It's worth every cent you pay for it with. But you can also get it on Disney Plus. So because Disney now owns Indiana Jones, that's why Dial of Destiny is coming out on Disney Plus, and I'm gonna try and see it in theaters before it leaves. I don't know if I'm gonna enjoy it, but I still think I should at least try to see it in theaters. Okay, so now at number 7, I have Return of the Jedi. The last in the original trilogy of Star Wars films is probably the weakest in the entire original trilogy, but that is not a knock against it. This film is like near perfect. I believe that the fifth movie and the fourth movie are perfect movies. They are absolutely flawless. Return of the Jedi might actually be perfect. There's just so much. There's just so many great moments in this, and this is by far the third best. The original trilogy has got to be the best Star Wars. Most people you will find will say that. I think that Revenge of the Sith is by far the most overrated Star Wars movie and one of the most overrated movies of all time. It's mostly just because of the fact that people like it because of, like, the action elements to it, where it has like really cool CGI uses. But some people will say that this feels a bit dated, but it is awesome. It flies by for even it's not very long. No wait, no, it's around like 2 hours, but it flies by from start to finish. You just absolutely love it. I kind of think it is a bit weak, and like I think the second act wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy this. Actually, no, I think it was the first act. Like the Jabba Palace thing kind of dragged for me a bit, and just getting to see Yoda dying, I felt like that was kind of emotional, and I love these movies so much, and I didn't even grow up on the originals. I just watched the prequels. The prequels used to be my favorite. Then I had a dramatic shift saying the originals were my favorite, because they are my favorite, and that should tell you how much the originals are. They are everything, and that is why it had to make this list. Okay, so now at number 6 we've got the one, the only, the legendary Star Wars Episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back. This is probably my favorite of the Star Wars movies. I think the most rewatchable is the original, but the one I find the most, well, just the one that I would say is my favorite out of all of them is probably The Empire Strikes Back. And I do think this movie's awesome. This movie's perfect in my mind. There's nothing wrong with it. Not a single flaw. And it like the entire original trilogy just flies by from start to finish. Like you don't even know how long it is. It's just so unbelievably watchable. I watch these movies all the time, and just this one has this really unique setting to where it's a lot darker than the first movie, and since we've already established these characters in the first film, we now get to pick up right where we left off, just a tiny, well, they're on Hoth, and we actually get to spend time with these characters. We get Han Solo being frozen in carbonite at the end. It's so amazingly well paced. The pacing in this movie is amazing. That's what I love about it. Just the Star Wars, the entire original trilogy had pretty good pacing. I think Return of the Jedi's pacing kind of was off, in like the first act had some pacing problems, but other than that, the original trilogy is like regarded as probably my favorite trilogy of all time. It's up there for sure. It's got to be one of my favorites. Okay, for now we're going into number 5. Now we're getting to like these are all like I think they're almost all like my top 6 or top 5 movies. I know for a fact that there are maybe some shifts because I did a top 10 favorite movies of all time. There will be some changes that I made, so just be warned about that. And for now, we're going to go at number 5 with the legendary and amazing and a movie I regard to be perfect. Well, as close to perfect as movies come, because nothing is perfect. But we're now going to head right over to Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh, what can I say about the film that has never been said? Nothing. Everyone loves it. Everyone. You're not allowed to dislike it if you're on my channel. You can't. It's a rule. This movie is... just the pacing in this movie is one of my favorite of... Just the pacing in this movie is amazing. I rewatch this movie so often, and I love love this movie. And it does so many amazing things. This is probably this is like a top 5 movie for me, I believe. I'm pretty sure, no, I think it's my number 6 now because of some like shifts. But believe me, so amazing. You get some really good action in this, and all this stuff is like practical. That's what I loved about the original trilogy. The original trilogy, all practical. Well, most of it might have been a tiny bit of CGI for just like some touch-ups and stuff. Meanwhile, you go to Dial of Destiny and Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and they are bloated with just so much CGI that they had to use. I do think this is good. This is good. Good, great. And George Lucas, luckily he had people to restrain him from this, so he was able to execute his like vision, but not fully, because the prequel showed us that when George Lucas when he isn't being restrained from something, it can be bad, because the dialogue in the second movie was horrible. And just the love story in that one was awful. But since we have George Lucas actually getting to do something that he liked and he wasn't ruining it, it is good. Although he did kind of ruin Indiana Jones with the 4th movie and the 5th movie, because no one wanted to, but he wanted to. He's proven himself to do things that people would not really enjoy, and it kind of backfires on all of us. Because as fans of what he makes, we're left to suffer when he does things like that. But I do absolutely love this movie. It's by far the best Indiana Jones film. You can't convince me otherwise. And there's just nothing I could say about it that has not already been said. So why bother? Just going to say, it's awesome. Okay, now we're going to my number 4. Oh, this is so amazing. We're now going to head straight over to The Terminator. This movie is awesome. We get some really good scenes in this. Like, we get also some. This is like a horror movie almost. It has a slasher vibe, which I consider it a horror movie because of that. Arnold Schwarzenegger is like, he is credited as like the main character, and yet he's more of this like side character that's more the villain. That he doesn't have much screen time in the movie. I think he had like only 10 minutes of screen time altogether, and that might even be. And I think that might actually have been stretched. But believe me, I think this movie is awesome. You get some really good practical effects here, and it has an amazing sequel, which I consider to be better than the original, because the second movie is my favorite movie of all time. This is easily a treat to watch. There are so many good things, whether you're talking about his amazing line,
"I'll be back,"
and just the way that it is paced is phenomenal. You get so many action scenes that are off the charts amazing. Just the way it... So, the reason it's held back from, like, literally top 3 is because, like, some of the effects in, like, the third act haven't aged as well. Like, there's some stuff that they did that hasn't particularly aged the best. And people have pointed that out. Now, it's like a very small critique I have against it, but believe me, I can easily look past it and have a blazing good time with this movie. Wait, blazing good time? Who says that anymore? Well, anyway, now we're gonna head into our top 3, and we're gonna get into a really, really good action movie. Oh, oops. Well, you probably knew I'm a huge action guy, so at number 3, we're gonna go to Predator. Yet another Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. He is proven to be like the greatest action star of all time. He's awesome. He's cool. He's magnificent. And he is a very muscular dude. Like, just there's a scene in this movie where he like flexes his arm and it is huge. It's like the size of my head, probably. Yeah, I'd probably actually say that I could go on record, and in that movie, my head would probably be the same size as like his muscle. He is jacked. And, like, he's still 7 years old, and he still, I think, has a six-pack. Like, who does that? I mean, Sylvester Stallone does as well. But I think that I've been told that the rivalry between them is actually, like, fake or something. I don't know what to make of that, but this movie's awesome. You get some really cool scenes with this, and, like, The Predator. This is a horror movie for sure. It's an action horror where you get some really nasty stuff, and what The Predator does, he'll skin people alive. And... oh, just the pacing is also another one of my favorites. This is one of the most rewatchable movies on this list. It's Oh, most times on lists, I usually will list them based on how rewatchable they are. So I'm basically doing it on both my favorites and rewatchability, and it's basically the same thing. I may have to like switch one over. Like I'd probably say that Last Crusade may be a bit more rewatchable than Return of the Jedi. It's they're the two that will be competitors, but this movie is amazing, and I still need to see like Prey and Alien versus Predator, because one of my subscribers who film kid, he has asked me to do Alien versus Alien versus Predator Requiem. Whew, a lot of verses in that one. Okay, for me, my runner up, and I don't know what people are gonna make of this. My runner up is First Blood. Okay, okay. So amazing. There is so much in this movie that is amazing and that absolutely works. This movie is perfect in my mind. There's not a single flaw. It is absolutely, definitely, fully, amazingly, and utterly amazing. Some of the sequels, one of the things I love about this film is he's so like grounded and just so relatable. Then we go into the other sequels where he basically loses his PTSD until he like gains it back in like Last Blood, so we get him as this big over the top action hero in the other movies. This one, he's like this loner who's so relatable, and he's just so amazing in the role. Rambo is my favorite movie character of all time. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. He is my favorite movie character. Just the way that he is, I just love, and he's so innocent. Well, not really innocent. He saw a lot of things, and there's some pretty violent stuff in here, like the way that there's that flashback, and he's getting sliced with a knife across his chest, and you can like hear the blade. Oh man, that is creepy. And also just some stuff like the forest scene where he's setting traps is awesome. And just the way that he talks to the sheriff and says, I could have killed you all, but I'm not. You need to let it go. Let it go.
I could have killed them all. I could have killed you. In town, you're the law. Out here, it's me. Don't push it. Don't push it, I'll give you a war you won't believe. Let it go. Let it go.
Chef's kiss on that. That is just amazing. And we also get the amazing thing of nothing is over. You just don't turn it off.
It's over, Johnny. It's over! Nothing is over! Nothing! You just don't turn it off!
And it just shows you how messed up things were at Vietnam and how Vietnam people were treated. And all around, this movie is amazing, and it just delivers everything you want from action, and just love it, and I love it. So for that reason, it is my second. But for me, coming in first place is easily Die Hard, the greatest straight up action movie there's ever been, the greatest Christmas movie there's ever been, the greatest everything. This is my second favorite movie of all time. Terminator 2 is my favorite, but you get so many iconic moments. This has just some of the greatest one-liners where you get John McClane muttering his iconic line. Just so you know, this will not be censored because John McClane should be able to say this line, so I will give you a 5-second warning before I have to show this. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, enjoy.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
And also, you just have to think about the fact that this movie did a lot for the action genre. It's been copied. It's been like tried to be parodied and stuff. No movie has come close to the amount of just wit that this movie comes. It's oozing charisma, and the action is so well paced, and like everything about this movie is perfect. There's not a single flaw in it. Nothing, and nothing, in that order. Nothing. I cannot think of a single flaw. Also, just the way that Hans is like this very complex yet so evil villain who you think is, oh man, this guy is ruthless, yet he's somehow a really cool character, which I really like. And just the way that he pretends to be a terrorist to get in. And I think this, and I still need to read the book, but I hear that the movie's even better than the book. So, and based on how the book sounds compared to the movie, I might actually agree with that as soon as I see it. And this is one of the most rewatchable movies ever made. It's the most rewatchable movie ever made, actually. And for that reason, it comes in at number 1. Okay, so there you go, guys. My top 10 movies from the 80s. So if you want to see some more videos like this, I suggest you click that like button and that subscribe button, so that way you can stay tuned for all my future videos of this. Now, I am going to be keeping up this video thing as much as I can, and I'm trying to think of a good video to do next. Hopefully, it'll be an Indiana Jones ranking if I can see Dial of Destiny. So, thank you all so much for doing this. You have been so supportive of me, and just the fact that I now have reached 80 subscribers is amazing. My next goal is now 95 subscribers. I want to get as many as possible, but no pressure, and thank you all so much for watching. Have a good one.